Cause I break it down like rough seed, this OG's about to get smoked like rough weed. Don't know me, on my motherfucking mother, you motherfucking punk. Put me on your fucking cover just to sell you on your sellout mag. I ain't mad, I feel bad, here's an ad, here's a poser,
the first episode of HBO 24/7, well, actually, let me correct myself. There's going to be one episode of HBO 24/7, Canelo versus Smith, and what it's called is HBO Road 2. So you would remember HBO Road to Pacquiao Bradley 3, no, Pacquiao Bradley 2, HBO Road to Marquez Alvarado, and Bradley, I believe it was Marquez Bradley 2. It's a cheaper version of HBO 24/7. They're usually about anywhere from like 7 to 20 minutes long. Not even that sometimes. So it's not a real episode of HBO 24/7. And of course, we've known about the HBO boxing cuts, and that's one of the reasons why we've been getting these pay-per-view fights. That wouldn't normally be pay-per-view, because if you have one fighter that's got to make $1 to $2 million, or 1.5 to $2 million, then the other fighter, even if it's a side fighter, it's just not the money in it to get those type of fights on regular HBO anymore. So they're putting it on pay-per-view. Canelo versus Smith, in my personal opinion, is a good fight. Why? Is because this is a situation where, outside of maybe James Kirkland and Alfredo Angulo, this is going to be the fighter, that may have the weight advantage himself. He may come into the ring bigger than Canelo, or his size, or pretty close to it. Remember, it was Amir Khan. Amir Khan saying he came in, over 180. I don't believe that, but I can believe that maybe he probably touched 179. 179, 180. Even those are, 170, 178, 179. Maybe 180. And even though, those are just a couple, maybe 1 or 2 pounds, that makes a big difference in the boxing ring. James Kirkland, that he came into the ring at least about the same size as Canelo. When you look at Lady Lara doesn't come into the ring any bigger than, from what I've seen, 158. Because he steps on the unofficial scales. When you look at Floyd Mayweather, of course he was bigger than Floyd Mayweather. Then you have to think, well, Alfredo Angulo. If Liam Smith, if his chin holds up, he has an excellent chance to maybe beat Canelo in a close fight, especially if he tries to bang. Now, we know Canelo, don't disrespect Canelo. Like, even though he vacated his belt, and Mexicans have been slaughtering him for it, all the way down to Nacho Beristain, he still can fight. Now, one little thing you'll notice about Canelo, too, before I move on and forget to say it, is they've been doing some sneaky shit. Do you notice that he don't step on the unofficial scales? Because if he steps on the unofficial scales, and they'll show that he weighed in at Canelo weight, like 155 or 154 and 3/4. If fans were to see, especially in this social media age with Instagram, Twitter, if they were to see, Canelo rehydrated up to 178 pounds tonight, 179 pounds, then they couldn't keep riding with that he's not a real 160-pounder excuse. And I wish it was mandatory that fighters, got on the unofficial scales. If you will notice, Golovkin has been getting on the unofficial scales and coming in at what, like 171, 172. And you'll notice another thing about Canelo is that he's been getting lighter each fight, as far as the 30-day weigh-ins are concerned. Go check out the 30-day weigh-in for the Trout fight, the 30-day weigh-in for the, and you got to look it up. It'll be an article on it. The 30-day weigh-in for Mayweather, the 30-day weigh-in for Angulo, and all the way up until, Lara, James Kirkland, and Amir Khan. You'll notice that he's been, getting lighter, like between those, at that 30-day mark. So therefore, he would have, in my opinion, a better chance of making this 154 pounds for this WBO title. Because remember, outside of the Mayweather fight, the last fight that he fought at 154 pounds was against Austin Trout. Now, how did Canelo weight come about? After he fought Mayweather at 152, he went on to fight Alfredo Angulo. I believe that was in that next March. What happened was the fight was supposed to be at 154 pounds, and I was covering the weigh-in, and I noticed it just was a strange aura. And what happened was they changed the contracted weight to 155 pounds. At the weigh-in. And paid Alfredo Angulo some money, add some extra money to the contract because Angulo was going to make weight. Canelo didn't, Well, Canelo wasn't. So they couldn't afford the embarrassment of, it being all over the place that Canelo didn't make weight and, he's killing himself to make 154. They came up with the Canelo weight division, which is 155 pounds, where he fought Alfredo Angulo, of course, Erislandy Lara, James Kirkland, Miguel Cotto, Amir Khan, and now he's getting back down to 154 to fight for that WBO title, because if he was to vacate his belt, to Golovkin like he did, which is already bad enough. But imagine if he would have stayed at Canelo weight, because Canelo weight is not an official weight yet. It's not an official weight, as far as the organizations are concerned. But imagine if he would have stayed at 155, which is still considered the middleweight division, and kept fighting people. It would have. So they said, listen, Canelo, you got to get there to 154, bro. Because you already gave up your belt, and they already eaten you alive. And we've been saying you're not a real 160 pounder. But then here's where things get interesting. Canelo is in talks. They've confirmed is in talks to fight Billy Joe Saunders in December at 160. Now, if you check out the WBO rankings, which will be the new ones will be available soon, if not yet. I know for the July rankings, Demetrius Andrade after Canelo is going to be the number one contender, or fight in eliminator for the number one contender spot for Canelo's title if he beats Liam Smith. And Andrade used to have that belt. And he's in a situation where he can either go after Erislandy Lara, or he can go after Canelo and make bigger money. So what do you think he's going to do? If he's smart and his team is smart, they'll be like, oh, yo, we can get that WBO belt back. Let's go after Canelo. Either he going to fight us, they're going to force a purse bid, either he going to fight us or he's going to drop that fucking belt, because it's already talked about that he's going to be moving up to 160 to fight Billy Joe Saunders, and Billy Joe Saunders is supposed to be fighting, or rumored, it's not confirmed, to be fighting Gabriel Rosado on the undercard, and Billy Joe Saunders has been, you can tell he's been looking for that big payday. He's not trying to fight Golovkin because he's maneuvered into, possibly getting the Canelo fight and making more money, maybe triple, or quadruple, depending, how they do it, the money than he would fighting Golovkin, because I believe it was confirmed that Golovkin team, Lofer and all them offered him like 1.5, something like that, and the rumor was going around they were offering him 4. But I thought to myself, he's not going to get he's not going to get $4 million in the United States, and it would have to be on pay-per-view, and it's not going to sell any better than Lemieux, than Lemieux might fight at the time. So I thought, well, if he was to get that $4 million, then Golovkin would have to go over to the UK, and they could work out something with, Box Nation and how they do pay-per-view over there, and also, put it in the stadium and, get a lot of revenue and ticket sales. But basically, let's stick to Canelo Smith. So how we've gotten here, and me being, whatever you think about me involving Canelo, I've been covering Canelo for you can say years now. It's 6 years. Almost 6 years. So it's going to be closer to a decade, you might as well say. We've seen his progression. He is good, but right now, since you have Mayweather, who is supposed to be retired, really not really, like like a lot of people think he's coming back. When you have Pacquiao who's still fighting, Canelo technically, if you take those two guys out, is the number one most lucrative fighter in boxing right now. So they're trying to maneuver, to make him as much money as possible, because remember, he had that lawsuit that they just lost, and I believe it was like $8.5 million or something like that. And if you think about it, when you have to pay lawsuit money, you're not paying, oh, let me give this 60% to him and get a 40% to the IRS. You got to pay that whole 8.5. So you got to think, what was his purse really for the Amir Khan fight? He probably lost his old purse after taxes. So, you know, that's why we got this fight that can happen in December. And normally fighters of Canelo's, status don't fight 3 times a year. They fight 2 times a year. But still, it's good to keep a young fighter like him really active, because what is Canelo, 25 or 26? 26. You know, and he just turned 26. It's good to keep him active and keep him making money. But if they was to put him in against Golovkin at the time where Golovkin's team was trying to make the fight, last year and going on, a year and a half, then what if Canelo would have lost? His marketability, will drop. They're trying to get him as much money as possible before they really, really take that big test. Also, you have to think, well, maybe they're also factoring in. You can't tell me him and Canelo, or Bernard Hopkins. It's like, look, he getting up there in age. Let's try to hold this out for 2 years. See if he slows down a bit. Let's play the money role. You got to think that maybe they're having these talks, and that's the political landscape of boxing right now. That's the political landscape of boxing. But I don't want to turn this into a half-an-hour video. So of course I'm back. T Street Controversy. This is T Street Controversy Live, and I cover every single major fight live. So I'm going to be putting out at least one video a day. And of course, I cover every single episode of HBO 24/7. And when the episode comes on, I'm going to be covering that. And follow me on Instagram. All the links to my social media are right down below in the description box. I am launching a website, hopefully. But you can't rush these things. By the time Canelo and Smith step into the ring, hopefully my website will be up and running, fightview360.com, and it's going to be an innovative approach on the sport. It's going to be an innovative approach on the sport. That's all I can say. I've had it up here for years, and now it's time to do it. I'm T Street Controversy. This is T Street Controversy Live. I cover every single major fight live. Please subscribe.